Right, shall we go through the answers, such as they are? I've lost the page now. Television, should it be on or off? Ooh, we're definitely doing that. Okay. Number one, list 3 possible dangers of having greater knowledge of genetics. I think abuse. I think abuse is one of them, abuse of genetics. Not really understand the consequences of what we're doing, and don't know. Corruption, I guess. But there are others. How many genes does a human have? Over 100,000. What is the cause of the hostility towards the subject of genetics? Fear would be the answer they're looking for, but that isn't we know that scientists can't be trusted. We know. All through history, science has let us down over and over and over again. And we're just reacting to that. Why is the study of genetics being compared with Frankenstein? Because people are stupid. I love the line it says, people have common sense. And then the whole article is called Frankenstein. Frankenstein was never about genetic engineering of any sort. It was about creating, it was about understanding life, bringing life back to a cell, maybe creating life. I would debate that. And we talk, genetic engineering was never about creating artificial life. It was always about re-engineering human beings, designer humans, which are coming. It's been the subject of literature for 100 years, easily. I've written a book on it myself, several actually. I think at least one of you's read it, The Box, about genetic engineering and where it'll ultimately go if we're not very careful. Interestingly, very interestingly, look at the stories of the Anunnaki, genetically engineering humans as a slave race. And now America and China have got together to create human-ape hybrids. They say it's for organ donors. They can genetically engineer monkey humans to have almost identical organs to us so that they can transplant the organs. We'll see. Why do you think food crops have been genetically modified? Well, the official line was to make them more resistant to pests, or to make them easier to grow, faster to grow, make them grow larger. So in other words, to feed people, to make things more easy. But it was never about that. Monsanto, especially, they're a particularly evil corporation. You had to use Roundup. You had to buy their seeds every year. Now, farmers used to keep in the seeds. They'll just keep the seeds back, replant from last year's crop, over and over again. That's how it works. Not allowed to do that with Monsanto. You have to buy them every year. Then you have to use their pesticides, you have to use their nutrient chemicals. So basically, you have to buy their product, and then you have to buy the product support. So it basically turned food into a very corrupt industry. That's very dangerous. You're giving a small corporation, a large corporation, complete control over what we eat. Why do you think people would be worried about eating genetically modified food? Well, because of health concerns, because we're worried that the scientists won't do their job properly. They didn't, and now those genetically engineered foods are causing cancer, among other things. How many discoveries about human genetics, how have improved people's lives? Well, they say it produced medicines, but again, scientists are corrupt, and it's never worked properly. Medicines, better food. I mean, that's the answer they're looking for, but we know that hasn't worked because we've got 20 years of looking back on it where the food is basically inedible, it tastes disgusting, it doesn't taste right at all, it causes health concerns, animals won't touch it. We're seeing a massive reduction in the amount of testosterone. I mean, look at America, look at it. These people, the liberals, don't behave like men and women. They behave like spoiled children. And that's what you get if you reduce the testosterone levels. You don't see men behaving like men anymore. You see them behaving like children. How have discoveries about how could people be discriminated against if they were found to have faulty genes? Well, there's actually a really good movie called Gattaca. I might set it as a homework. We can't watch it in class. It's too long. But I might set it as a homework. It's called Gattaca. It's set in a future world where everybody's genetically engineered, and there are the Valids, who are the good genetic engineered people, and there are the invalids who are the faith births, like us, like all of us. Like they're just people whose parents had sex and had a baby. And they're considered invalid. They're second class. All they're good for is cleaning and doing menial jobs. They will never be part of society. And it'll become a two-tiered system. And it's happening. It's happening right now in front of us. But it won't be faulty genes. It isn't. What do you think synthetic life research is? It was the construction of artificial life, creating life from nothing. And there are now printers that will print off life. Who would decide if an experiment was for human good? Well, these ethicists, these theologians, these people, think about that. Religious people would decide if something is for human good. We're giving control to people who believe in cloud fairies, who believe in things with absolutely no basis in fact, and we're allowing them to decide what to do for human good. What's the difference between making a choice based on knowledge and understanding, based on ignorance and fear? Well, knowledge and understanding. We always make this mistake of thinking that the shallow is the deep and the deep is the shallow. Especially in America, we've got the fat acceptance movement, where you're beautiful at any size, these people tell you. And we all know that's garbage. We all know that if you've completely lost control and have put on huge amounts of weight to the point where you can't even walk, that you're not attractive to the opposite sex. We know that because humans are essentially attracted to healthy people because we want healthy lives. If somebody has so little control and so little discipline that they're going to become so big they can't get out of bed, they're not attractive. They're not a good prospect. They're a crazy person. And we know this. So why are we trying to sell the idea that you're shallow if you look at somebody and don't like them because they're fat? People say, oh, you're shallow if you judge someone from the way they look. Not if you judge them intelligently on the choices they have made. And we make this mistake all the time. So knowledge and understanding. Well, let's widen our knowledge and understanding to include the fact that science has made so many terrible, terrible mistakes that we should be wary of it because the scientists simply can't be trusted. So let's include that in our knowledge and understanding. The fact that we were diagnosing people as being crazy, and only, well, even today in America, they're still giving them psychotropic drugs. We're giving children psychotropic drugs to control their behavior when all they need is someone to talk to. And we're giving them drugs, and we know it's causing massive problems. At one point, somebody did a bit of research into the school shootings, and this is going back to the 80s, and there were hundreds of school shootings, and every single school shooter was on Prozac. Every one of them. Knowledge and understanding. The more you know. What is the positive outcome of people fearing what they do not understand? Caution. Caution. Fearing something we don't understand is a perfectly natural human instinct to slow us down and to make us think about what's really out there. It's perfectly natural. What are the meaning of these words and phrases? Alien means beyond us. Distinguished means has somehow shown himself or herself to be above everybody else. They've shown excellence. Amounted, line 21. It depends on the context. I actually don't know the context. Line 21. Prompted by spirits. Amounted to. Amounted to, so it all came to. It means that everything was added up and it amounted to, it came to, it ended up being. An ethical debate is when you debate ethics and morals, where you have a discussion based on morals. Engineered is built, and people are becoming engineered. Objection is having a problem with something. Synthetic is artificial. Wrestled, well, physically it means to fight, but it also means we can have a discussion which also ends in a fight. We're wrestling with, we're dealing with it, we're fighting ourselves over it. Intervening is stepping in, and taboos are something that isn't accepted. I mean, like brothers and sisters getting married is still one of the ultimate taboos. And the reason it's an ultimate taboo is not because it's disgusting, it's because nature says no. And nature says no because it doesn't want us to copy and print our genes. It's keeping us diverse. We survive through diversity. Our bodies want us to go out and find somebody else so that we breed out our errors. Okay? That's human, and we're programmed to think that way. So we don't end up marrying our brothers and sisters. We find them revolting sexually. And that's perfectly natural, perfectly normal. Humans are built that way. We have a very firm understanding of what's necessary to survive. Is it reasonable to compare the outcome of the study of genetics with that of Frankenstein's experiment? Not really. Frankenstein, I guess in some ways, Frankenstein was trying to help the world by understanding life and turning back his own fears of death. I don't think that's why the scientists are doing this. I do think it's about profit first. And unfortunately, history shows that that's correct. Do you think there is a possibility of scientists creating a super race? I don't think there's any value in creating a super race. I don't think they want that. Super soldiers, yes, absolutely. There's definitely a movement towards genetically engineering some people so that they have advanced abilities. Yes, absolutely. I'm sure those people are among us. I think ultimately, I tell you where this is going to go. Ultimately, I've read documents on this. There are documents in America about modern RNA modifying gene therapies that are going to turn human beings into a genetic engineering factory, so that your genes will develop a scaffold to accept genetic modifications. And ultimately, they're pushed towards curing diseases before they start. Or there's another one that was quite scary about having genetic tags so that you can be identified from a distance, so that you'll actually emit a frequency. There was another one about being able to be switched off. That's another plan coming in from America about having your genetics controlled by AI. So if they want to switch you off, they can just turn you off, kill you, dead. That's another one. And ultimately towards immortality. Now, why would the people telling us that we're overpopulated want immortality for all humans? Can you imagine that? We continue breeding and we never die. Doesn't make any sense. So I think immortality is what we're shooting for as a race. But I think I think we'll get it, and I think we're going to get it quite soon. But I think it's only going to be available to a very few, because that's how this works, and that's just history. Okay, so that's my take on the answers. Yours might differ. I think it's a very dangerous topic, and it's fine to look at it in the book, but we've now got 30 years of history that they didn't have, and we know that genetically modifying foods has caused huge problems all around the world. It's created more dependence on the people doing the research. The people who destroyed the food crops in the first place now have control over the existing food crops. I'm sure that wasn't an accident. So, personally, my opinion, I like science for science's sake. I think its understanding is worth it every time. But I think it needs to be done in a much more ethical way. And that means that politics and business needs to be completely removed from science. Science should be done for its own sake. All these ethicists, they're not ethical people in the first place. They should have no say in science, and politics should absolutely not be involved. Science should be done for science's sake, so that we can increase our understanding. Then when we've got a solid basis of understanding, then we can look at applying it. That's my belief structure. Okay, thanks for listening.